The silence after the applause of the cameras stopped rolling. The scene was over. But the silence that followed wasn't part of the script. Keanu stood there, breathing hard, still in character. The emotion from the scene clung to him like the heavy coat he was wearing. As the crew began to move again, lights dimmed, equipment shifted, people whispered, but Anna, she was gone. She had delivered the last line with trembling lips, a single tear rolling down her cheek. It was a powerful moment. Everyone felt it. But then, instead of waiting for cut, she turned and walked off the set. No one stopped her. No one called out. Keanu noticed right away. He watched the door swing shut behind her, slowly, like time itself was hesitating. Something was wrong. He had worked with Anna before. She was professional, disciplined, never broke character unless needed. But this time it wasn't about the scene. It was something else. Something deeper. Earlier that day, the mood had been light. Anna had come in smiling, her hair tied back in a messy bun, holding a small cup of tea. "Cold morning," she'd said softly, sitting beside Keanu during rehearsal. He smiled and offered her his scarf as a joke. Just looked at him, then looked away. He remembered the small crack in her voice when she said, "I didn't sleep well." He wanted to ask more. He didn't. He thought maybe she was just tired. He didn't know that by the end of the day he would be chasing her into the rain. Keanu asked the assistant director, "Did Anna say anything before she left?" The woman shook her head. "Nothing. She just walked out." He looked around. No one seemed to notice the weight of it all. They were too busy packing up. Keanu grabbed his jacket, threw it over his shoulder, and walked out of the studio. Outside, the rain had started to fall, slow and steady, like the sky was trying to calm the world down. But inside him there was a growing tension. He had known pain. He had known loss. And somehow, in that final scene, Anna's performance had felt too real. Like she wasn't acting at all. He turned down the alley beside the building. He didn't know why, but something told him she'd gone this way. His boots splashed in shallow puddles. The cold wind cut through his shirt. He kept walking then. He saw her. Anna was standing at the edge of the alley, her back to him. Her coat was soaked, hair clinging to her face, arms crossed tight around her body. Keanu approached slowly. "Anna," he said gently. She didn't turn around, but he could see her shoulders trembling. He stepped closer. "What's going on?" Still no answer. He took off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She flinched, then slowly turned. To face him, her eyes were red. Not just from the cold. From something deeper. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Keanu shook his head. "You don't have to be." Anna looked away, her voice breaking. "I didn't mean to leave like that. I couldn't breathe in there." He waited, letting the silence hold space for her words. "The scene," she said, "it reminded me of something I thought I buried." Her lips trembled as she tried to speak again. "It wasn't just a scene for me. It was ... my past." Keanu didn't push. He didn't ask what she meant. He just stood beside her, letting the rain soak them both, like it was washing away the weight she carried. After a while, Anna finally looked at him. "Do you ever feel like people only see the strong version of you?" He nodded slowly. "And they don't know the nights you lie awake... fighting to keep your mind together?" Keanu's voice was soft. "I know that feeling too well." Anna looked down. "I thought acting would let me hide from it. Become someone else. But today, I felt it all come back, and it scared me." He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to go through it alone." Tears filled her eyes again, but this time there was something else in them. Relief. A crack of light breaking through a storm. She nodded slowly. "Thank you." The rain started to ease. Keanu walked beside her in silence. Not as a co-star, not as a Hollywood figure, but as a human being who had known pain, just like she had. And in that quiet moment, something changed between them. Not love, not fame, but something deeper. A bond born from shared pain, mutual respect, and quiet kindness. The kind that stays, even after the cameras stop rolling. When someone finally sees Youth next morning, the set was quiet. Anna didn't show up. The director waited an hour, pacing back and forth, making calls, checking messages. The crew kept glancing at each other, whispering questions they were, too. Afraid to ask out loud, Keanu sat alone in his trailer, staring at the door. His hands rested on his knees. His mind wasn't on the script, it was on her. The way she walked away, the way her voice cracked when she spoke about her past. He had seen something in her eyes, something no one else noticed. Pain, the kind that hides behind perfect smiles. The kind that screams when no one's around to hear it. And for the first time in a long time, Keanu felt something move in him, a need to help, quiet urgency that wouldn't go away. He picked up his phone and texted her. "Hey, I'm not asking as a co-star, just as a friend. Are you okay?" He waited. 5 minutes. 10. 20. Nothing, finally. His phone buzzed. It was a voice note. He played it. Anna's voice was soft, almost distant. "I'm not okay. But I don't want to hide anymore. If you're free, ... can we meet? Same cafe? The one near the bookstore?" 4 p.m. Keanu stood up, grabbed his coat, left without another word. The cafe was small and quiet, tucked between two flower shops. The kind of place that smelled like cinnamon and old pages. They had met here once during rehearsals. She said it reminded her of home. He arrived early, ordered chamomile tea, sat by the window and waited. Then, at exactly 4:03, she walked in. No makeup. No sunglasses. Just a scarf wrapped around her neck and a notebook clutched tightly in her hands. She sat down across from him and smiled faintly. "You came," he nodded. "Of course I did." She looked down, her fingers tapping the notebook gently. "I don't usually let people see that side of me," she said softly. "I know," Keanu replied, "but I saw it, and I didn't walk away." Anna took a shaky breath. "When I was 16, she began. I lived in a small apartment with my mother. She worked nights. I stayed home one night. Something happened. Someone broke in. I froze. I didn't scream. I didn't move." She paused, tears quietly forming. He didn't take anything, but he left something behind. Fear, silence, guilt. Keanu didn't interrupt. He just listened. Anna continued. "Last night, in that scene, ... the lines, the shouting, the sudden silence, it took me back. I wasn't acting. I was reliving it." Eyes. She looked up at him now, eyes wet but steady. "But then you followed me. You didn't ask why. You just stood there. You gave me space." Keanu reached out slowly, gently placing his hand over hers. "Sometimes," he said, "the strongest thing we can do is let someone be seen." Anna opened her notebook and turned it toward him. On the page was a simple drawing, 2 figures standing in the rain, one holding out a coat, the other with tears falling like the rain itself. Beneath it, she had written, "I thought I was alone until you stayed." Keanu read the words in silence. His chest tightened. He whispered, "Thank you for trusting me." She nodded. "Thank you for not asking me to be okay right away." Outside, the sky was still gray. But inside, something had shifted. Anna sat straighter. Her voice grew a little stronger. "Do you ever feel like the world expects you to be strong? All the time?" she asked. "Every day," Keanu replied. "And do you ever get tired of being that for everyone else?" "More than you know." They shared a quiet laugh, not out of humor, but out of recognition. 2 souls carrying quiet battles. 2 people who had learned how to smile through storms. Anna looked at him. Double quotes, maybe. "Maybe we don't need to be strong." "Alone?" Keanu nodded. "Maybe strength is letting someone walk beside you." They stayed for hours, talking, listening, not just about pain, but about dreams, memories, childhood stories, and simple joys. Anna spoke of the ocean in Cuba. Keanu shared stories of late-night motorcycle rides through empty city streets. And by the time the sky outside turned to twilight, they both felt lighter. Not healed, but heard. And that was the beginning. As they stepped outside, Anna turned to him and said, "Thank you for following me into the rain." Keanu looked at her and replied, "Thank you for letting me stay." They didn't hug. They didn't say goodbye. They just walked quietly down the street side by side. And for once, neither of them was pretending to be okay. They were simply real. And sometimes, that's where true healing begins. The storm they never showed on screens the next few days were quiet. Anna didn't return to the set, but she sent word. A simple message to the director: "I just need a little time. Please don't replace me." No one questioned it. She had earned. That respect. Keanu, meanwhile, kept showing up. Not because he had scenes to film, most were paused. He came because being near the set gave him a strange sense of calm, but mostly came in case she needed him again. On the third morning, he received a message from Anna. Double quotes, "Can I show you something? Meet me. 6 p.m. Wear something warm." No explanation. No location until 2 hours before. At 4 p.m., she sent a pin on the map. An old park just outside the city. He left right away. The sky was turning gold when he arrived. Autumn leaves scattered along the path. The air smelled like earth and fading flowers. It was the kind of place where people went to feel far away from the noise. Anna was already there. She was standing near a small bridge, her hands tucked into her coat pockets, eyes watching the stream below. Keanu approached slowly. She turned when she heard his footsteps, and for the first time since that night in the rain, she smiled like she meant it. "I used to come here when I first moved to the city," she said. "Back when I was just another girl trying to be someone." Keanu looked around. Peaceful. Anna nodded. "This place kept me grounded, and everything else felt fake. This felt real." She motioned for him to walk with her. They crossed the bridge in silence. Birds flew overhead. Children's laughter echoed from a nearby swing set. And then she said, "I want to tell you something. Something I've never told anyone." Keanu glanced at her. Her face was calm, but her hands were clenched tight. "I was 17 when I first left home. Not just physically, but emotionally. I stopped believing in people, in trust, in safety." She took a deep breath. "You know that break-in I told you about?" Keanu nodded. It wasn't the first time something happened. "I kept quiet for years. I told myself it was normal, that I was strong enough to forget. But pain doesn't disappear. It hides in the corners of your mind. Waits." Her voice cracked. "In acting, ... it gave me a mask, gave me control." He sat on a bench beneath a willow tree. Anna looked at him and whispered, "But that scene we did? It shattered the mask." Keanu reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded napkin. He handed it to her. On it he had written 5 simple words. "You're allowed to feel broken." Anna stared at the words. Her lips trembled, but she didn't cry. Instead, she said, "You're the first person who hasn't tried to fix me. You just see me." Keanu looked at the fading light beyond the trees. Sometimes people don't need fixing. They just need someone to walk beside them in the dark. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Anna stood up and turned to him. "I'm going back," she said. "To the set. To the scene. I want to finish what we started, but this time, not as someone pretending. To be okay this time, I want to be real." Keanu stood too. "Then I'll be right there. Every step." She smiled again. This time it reached her eyes. The next morning, Anna walked into the studio. The crew went silent. Not out of awkwardness, but out of respect. She walked with quiet, confidence, no makeup to hide behind, no sunglasses to shield her, just her. And beside her, Keanu.com/steady. Supportive Dodd. The director nodded gently. "You ready?" Anna met his eyes. More than ever. They filmed the scene again, same lines, same movements, but everything felt different. And his voice shook, but not out of fear, out of honesty. Each word carried the weight of her story. Each look toward Keanu was filled with truth, and when she finished her last line, the set was silent again. Not because they were unsure, but because they had just witnessed something rare. Not acting, not performance, but healing in real time. The director quietly said, "Cut." No one moved. Keanu turned to her and softly whispered, You did it. Anna looked at him. We did. They stepped off the set. Anna leaned against the wall, her eyes closed. That was the hardest thing I've ever done, she said. And the bravest. Keanu replied, I was scared, she admitted. And you still showed up. Anna turned to him, tears quietly slipping down her cheeks. I couldn't have done it without you. He didn't respond with words. He just held out his hand. She took it, and in that moment, neither of them felt alone anymore. Not as actors. Not as broken people, but as survivors. Walking through the storm, together. The weight we carry in silence, Seth, scene they shot that day, made it into the film. But what no one saw, what the cameras could never catch, was the silence after Anna stayed on set long after the others left. Keanu stayed with her. They sat on the floor of the dressing room, backs against the wall, both too tired to speak. Too aware that something deep inside them had shifted again, Anna finally broke the quiet. You know, she whispered. I thought healing would feel like a victory. Keanu looked at her, eyes soft. But it just feels heavy. Like I opened a door I had locked for years, and now I don't know how to close it again. He nodded. Healing isn't a straight line. Sometimes it hurts more before it gets better. Anna leaned her head back against the wall. Do you ever wish you could go back, too, before all the pain? Keanu didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, sometimes. But if I went back, I wouldn't be who I am now. And I wouldn't have met you. The next few days moved slowly. The world outside continued as always news. Traffic, busy streets, but inside them something was still unraveling. Ina began. Writing again, she filled pages with pieces of memories, things she had never said out loud. She didn't know if they were poems, letters, or just confessions. She only knew she needed to write, and she kept sharing those pages with Keanu every evening. They'd meet at the cafe or walk in the park. She'd read aloud what she wrote. He would listen, never interrupting, never judging. Sometimes he would. Share, too, about his own past, his grief, the people he had lost. He told her about the time he drove alone across 3 states after losing someone close, just so he wouldn't have to face a silent home. He told her how he learned to carry pain. Like a shadow, always behind him, always quiet but always there. Anna listened the way he did, with stillness. With care and with every word exchanged, something deeper grew between them. One night, she invited him to her apartment. I want to show you something, she said softly. Her home was quiet, filled with warm light and the faint scent of jasmine. On her coffee table was a small box, inside dozens of old photographs. A little girl on a beach. A teenage Anna with a shy smile. Her mother. A tiny dog curled up on her lap. I haven't looked at these in years, she said. I kept them packed away. I thought if I didn't see them, I wouldn't feel the loss. Keanu picked up a photo and smiled gently. You look happy here? I was, she whispered. Before I learned how to hide it? He set the photo down. You're allowed to feel both joy and sadness. They don't cancel each other out. Anna looked at him. I wish someone had told me that when I was younger. Then maybe, Keanu said softly, we should start telling each other. Now, that night, they sat on the floor again, just like in the dressing room. Anna showed him the last page she had written. On it, only one sentence. I'm learning to be real again. Keanu touched the paper gently. And you're not doing it alone. The next morning, Anna showed up on set early. It's not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She walked through the studio with her shoulders a little straighter, not out of pride, but out of quiet strength, the crew noticed. It's not because of what she said, but because of how she moved, like someone who had been through a storm and was learning how to walk again in sunlight after lunch. Anna found Keanu sitting alone near the edge of the stage. She sat beside him and said, I've decided something. What's that? I want to create something real, something off camera, not for the press, not for the screen. It's just for people like me. People who are hurting but afraid to speak. Keanu raised an eyebrow, like a project. More. Like a message. A space. Maybe a short film. Or a journal. I don't know yet, but something honest. Something that says, "It's okay not to be okay." Keanu smiled. "Whatever you build, I'll help you." Anna's eyes sparkled. "You all ready?" Have. Later that night, as they walked outside the studio, it began to drizzle again. Anna looked up at the sky. Funny how the rain always finds us. Keanu took off his jacket and held it over both their heads. "Maybe it's not here to chase us," he said. "Maybe it's here to remind us we survived the last storm." They stood under the soft rain, quiet, together. And this time, neither of them was running. The moment the world started listening, the studio was buzzing again. Word had gotten out. Not about Anna's past, but about her presence. People were talking, not in gossip, but in admiration. Something in her had changed, and everyone could feel it. Her scenes were deeper now, her presence more grounded. She wasn't just acting anymore, she was living each moment fully. Like every word meant something, because now it did. Keanu watched her from across the set. He didn't say much, didn't need to. But every time their eyes met, there was quiet understanding. He had seen her at her most vulnerable, and now he was watching her rise. One morning before filming, Anna found a letter in her trailer. It was handwritten, unsigned, but it said, "Your story gave me the courage to face mine. I thought I was alone. Thank you for being brave." She read it twice, her hands trembling. Then she found another one the next day. Then a third. The studio's mail team said they didn't know where they were coming from. Someone must have been dropping them off quietly. Anna placed each letter in a small wooden box she kept near her makeup mirror. "Why keep them?" Keanu asked one day, noticing the box growing fuller. "Because every time I doubt myself," she said, "I read one. And I remember that truth always finds a voice, even if it starts as a whisper." It's the project she'd mentioned about creating. Something honest and real was no longer just an idea. Anna began writing short scenes, small monologues, truthful, raw, about grief, shame, silence, survival. She shared the first few with Keanu. He read them quietly, then looked up. "These aren't just scripts," he said, "they're mirrors." "Then I want to hold them up for others," she replied. With Keanu's help, she gathered a small team. No big producers, no glossy studios, just people who believed in honesty. Camera operators, editors, friends. They called it The Quiet Truth, a small digital series. 5-minute monologues from actors, real people, strangers, sharing moments they once buried deep. No dramatic music, no effects, just faces, words, and silence. Keanu volunteered to do one of the first monologues when they started filming. He sat on a wooden stool under soft lighting. No script, no airy TAs. He simply said, "I lost people too. And for a long time I thought being quiet was strength, but now I think strength is being willing to break in front of someone else." When it aired online, the clip went viral in 24 hours. But more than views, it brought something else. Messages. Thousands of them. People opening up, sharing, healing. Anna sat in her living room, reading message after message, her fingers shaking, her eyes red. "We started something," she said to Keanu on a call that night. "No," he said. "You did." A week later, Anna was invited to speak on a live panel. Something she would have never agreed 2 months ago, but this time, she said yes. Before the interview, she paced backstage, hands cold. Heart racing, Keanu called her, sensing she needed grounding. "Breathe," he said. "Just speak like you're still sitting in that cafe with someone who needs to hear the truth." She closed her eyes. "Thank you for being with me. Always." "You don't have to thank me," he replied. "You would have found your voice. I just stood in the rain until you were ready." On stage, the host asked, "Why did you start The Quiet Truth?" Anna looked into the camera, then into the audience, and she said, "Because someone once followed me when I vanished. Not to pull me back, but to walk beside me while I found my way. I think we all need someone like that. And if you don't have one yet, I hope this project becomes that someone for you." The room went silent. Not in awkwardness, but in reverence. She continued, For years I lived in silence. But silence doesn't heal. It only hides. No. I want people to know that broken doesn't mean hopeless. Pain doesn't mean the end. After the interview, she stepped outside into the cold night air. And to her surprise, Keanu was there, waiting by the car. She smiled, walking over. "You didn't have to come." He shrugged. She said, "We're something warm, remember?" They laughed quietly. "How did it feel?" he asked. "Like I stopped. Running from myself," she said, and started walking toward who I was always meant to be. Keanu opened the door for her. "Then let's keep walking." The world was changing for both of them, not because of fame, not because of roles, but because they chose honesty. They chose to speak when it was easier to stay silent. They chose to stay when it was easier to walk away. Anna looked out the window as they drove away. "You think we're helping people?" she asked. Keanu smiled. "You helped me. And if that's all we ever do, it's enough." When healing becomes a light for others, weeks turned into months, the quiet truth was no longer just a project. It became a movement. People from across the world sent their stories, recorded voice messages, handwritten letters, raw videos filled with trembling voices and silent tears. Every day, Anna and Keanu would sit together, sorting through them, sometimes speechless, sometimes crying, sometimes just sitting in stillness as strangers shared the kind of pain they had once carried alone. They realized something powerful. Pain isn't rare, but the courage to speak it is, and now. Their small act of truth was helping people find that courage. One evening, they were invited to a small gathering at a community center on the edge of the city. It wasn't a red carpet event. There were no flashing cameras, just folding chairs, soft lights, and a room full of people who had been touched by the stories. Anna and Keanu arrived quietly. No stage, no microphones, just people. Real people. A woman stood and said, "I watched one of your episodes at 2 a.m, sitting on the floor of my kitchen. I hadn't spoken to anyone in weeks, but after watching, I called my sister, and I told her the truth." Another man said, "I always thought silence made me strong, but now I understand connection does." Anna looked around the room. She saw herself in all of them. Not as a star, not as a performer, but as a human being, broken once, still healing. But now, holding light instead of shame, outside after the event ended, she turned to Keanu. "We did something that mattered." Keanu nodded slowly. "We didn't fix the world," he said, "but we gave people permission to stop pretending they were fine." Anna wrapped her coat tighter as the wind picked up. "Do you remember the first night?" she asked after the scene. "When I disappeared, I remember every second," he replied. "I thought if I ran far enough, no one would find me. I thought silence would protect me. But silence," Keanu said, "was never your home." Anna looked at him, her eyes soft, filled with the kind of gratitude that words could never fully hold. "You stood in the rain for me," she whispered, "and you walked back into the light for yourself," he replied. A few weeks later, Anna received an unexpected call. A major film festival had chosen The Quiet Truth as a feature in their Human Stories section. Not for awards, not for fame, but because they said, "This is what storytelling is meant to do: heal, connect, and awaken." Anna didn't react the way she used to with industry news. No jumping up, no wide-eyed celebration. She just sat down, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Thank you." Because now, her wins weren't about her. They were about every person who once hid their truth in silence, and now felt seen on the night of the screening. The theater was full, no red carpets, just quiet music and dim lighting. Every seat was filled with someone who had sent a story, watched a monologue, or found a piece of themselves inside someone else's truth. Anna stood at the front with Keanu by her side. No speeches, just 2 chairs. And one question from the host: "What would you say now to your younger self? The one who was afraid, the one who disappeared after the scene." Anna looked around the room, then slowly into the camera lens, and with a soft, steady voice she said, "You're not too broken to be loved. Your silence is not a prison. And even on the nights you feel invisible, someone will stand in the rain for you." And one day, you'll stand for someone else. The room went quiet, not out of awkwardness, but out of something sacred, something that needed no applause. After the event, Anna and Keanu walked through the empty streets. The sky was overcast, and soft raindrops began to fall again. Anna didn't flinch this time. She simply looked up and smiled. "I used to hate the rain," she said. "And now?" Keanu asked. "Now, it reminds me of the night everything changed." He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Do you think we'll ever stop hurting?" she asked softly. "Maybe not," he answered, "but we'll never hurt alone again." I stood under the soft drizzle. To people who were once strangers, now bound by something deeper than words. Not romance, not drama, but quiet loyalty, honest presence. A kind of love that doesn't demand anything in return. The kind that says, "I see you, I hear you, and I'm not going anywhere." Months later, the quiet truth opened its own space. Small building near the edge of the city. Part studio, part community center. The walls were filled with art letters, and still photographs of people who once believed their stories didn't matter. Anna stood at the door on opening day. Keanu handed her a small silver key. "This belongs to you," he said. She held it in her hand. "No," she whispered. "This belongs to everyone who's learning to speak again." And as the doors opened, the first visitors stepped in with quiet hope in their eyes and pieces of stories in their hearts.